How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here, and today we've got some really big, huge news really for World of Tanks console and the future of it. We've got some info as to what was updated within the recent update this week that they didn't actually tell us about with regards to the fixes. We've also got information for next week, so what's coming next week, as well as basically lots of information as to what's the development are actually looking into doing in the future. We're going to cover all of it, give my ideas of what some of the content that will be coming out soon. They've been very vague, but I'm pretty sure we've nailed it down to what the couple of things that it would probably be, and we'll get into that. I will have timestamped this video, so you'll be able to flick between the various different sections of the video that interest you. You know, you can skip ahead of various different places. And then obviously we'll have some more content at the end of the video if you want to watch any more from the channel. Obviously subscribe if you aren't already and you want to stay up to date with all the latest news with World of Tanks console, then hopefully we'll get straight into it now. So the first piece of content with regards to this week was actually this 1GB update that contained a lot of fixes. So they did talk about this a while back when I did my weekly news video for this current week as of the recording of this video. And basically they didn't give us any information on what the fixes were. These fixes included now fixing frame rate issues on some platforms. So PS4 issue with performance is still an issue. So they haven't completely solved it, but there are still some issues with the PS4. Hopefully that will be resolved as soon as possible, because obviously if a large proportion of your player base are having performance issues, obviously they aren't going to play your game, so that is a real big thing that they need to be working on as soon as possible. Hopefully that will be done by next week or the following week, where it's basically sorted out, because I think the whole smoke and all of these various different things really did impact the performance, especially on the new Cold War game mode, if you actually play that. Then we had the sniper reticle getting stuck on smoke clouds has been fixed, so that's not so bad. Don't know why that was a problem, but yeah, that's been fixed. So if you had that problem, you won't have that anymore, and you'll be able to play the game as it should be. Then we also had some colorblind issues in HDR were fixed, so that's absolutely fine. Brilliant. Helps out anyone with visual impairment or anything like that. So really, really helpful there. And then they've basically fixed an install crash, so when you were installing it crashed the game. So yeah, luckily that's sorted. Not too many fixes there, nothing real been said about the reticle jump from various different things, but hopefully these will all be fixed in the next couple of weeks. I'm really hoping so anyway. And one other thing is that the T-72 Ural is currently the most played tank in the game. So that's the premium Cold War tanks, basically. Whether that's just because a lot of people have been playing it to earn silver because of the boosts and ops, so they can't take that as an identifier of where the players are playing. That just basically is probably because people can earn a ton of silver in the new Cold War game mode, which you can do, especially given the silver operations that are going on right now as part of that game. Now, the next part of the video is on the updates for next week. So this is the update coming very, very soon on Tuesday. That will be like the 24th, I believe. So when you log on to the game, there will be 2 new premium Cold War tanks that come in the form of these 2 that are on screen right now. So we've got 2 new tanks. Obviously the Russian looking one on the left and the American looking one on the right. These 2 tanks are called the M60A1 Pattern Rise, and then the basically it's a heavy tank from the Western Alliance, so you've got probably a lot more armor than some of the patterns. And then you've got the T62M1, so this is the Russian one on the left here. They look really cool, they're kind of interesting. The one on the right kind of looks somewhat like a big bulldog with loads of spaced armour on it, if you get what I mean. And you know what the M41 Walker Bulldog looks like. Yeah, it kind of looks like that a little bit. Obviously, it's just another M60 pattern in the game with like some reskin and added on armour. The one on the left looks pretty good. I think that it will be interesting to see how these play, and if you play the Cold War game mode, maybe you want to pick up these premium tanks just to earn a bit more silver within the game. Obviously, don't know how much exact silver earn bonus that they will be getting, but I assume it would be like 50% extra silver, as with most premium tanks on the World War II game mode. Obviously, it could be more, not entirely sure, and we'll have to wait until they actually officially release them in-game to be able to check that, because they haven't given us much statistics with regards to the news update this week. Then we have the new James Braddock 3D Commander. So within the stream, they basically showed it off. It's Chuck Norris in 3D form. Doesn't look amazing. I mean, it looks okay. It looks better than some of the 3D commanders that they've come up with so far, but it doesn't look amazing. And certainly, if you're going to be paying a lot of gold just to have a 3D commander, then, go ahead. Purchase it. It's your own money. It's kind of cool. You'll have Chuck Norris at the end of the game standing there next to your tank. So, if you're interested in that sort of thing, or you want to pay some money to basically fund wargaming, then go ahead, do whatever you fancy. But yeah, there's a new 3D commander that it will have bonus XP as well. So you'll get extra commander XP when you play in them, most likely. So that's what tends to happen with the hero commanders, which is what he'll be added into the category of. So it might be like a 25% bonus XP to commander XP when you play with that commander. Now, one of the key things within this next update is actually that they've changed the elite and tank research values. So it won't take it. Well, they haven't given us too much information on this, but basically what I can kind of gather is that they'll be changing how much it takes to fully research a tank. So how much each package is going to cost you with regards to the XP, how long it's going to take you to get from tier 3 to tier 10, and similarly on the Cold War game mode, you'll be able to get to the tier, or the highest tier possible quicker, basically, I think, is what they're going for. So they've asked us for feedback on this, so when it drops on Tuesday, best thing to do if you find it good or bad or whatever your thoughts are is to just basically whack that on the forum. There will usually be like a post to do with the changes, and also on the Discord server for World of Tanks, if you're not already in it, you can find that on if you just type in World of Tanks console Discord, it'll come up as one of the top ones. And then they usually do like a poll on there, and it will basically, you just click a reaction, and that will basically provide them with feedback on what you thought. They've done that a few times. And on the channel, I tend to do some polls to be able to get your feedback as well, and then I'll whack that over to Wargaming themselves as well. So if you see those, make sure you vote on them, because they do kind of lead back to Wargaming in the end. Then we have the next bit is that we have ally ping commands should now show up on the map. So this is actually something that I'm really glad that they're putting this back in, because it was annoying when you pinged one of your teammates or you pinged something and it just wouldn't show on the map. It was one of the things that I just didn't get why they removed during this big update 6.0 and all of the various different changes since then. I'm glad that it has now finally came back to the game, and that will be coming on Tuesday. They've said it should now show up, so it could possibly create some bugs, but hopefully not, and hopefully it will just run smoothly. Fingers crossed for that anyway, and that will be a nice addition back to the game. And then finally, they've got some various balance and customization changes to skins. So I guess what they're trying to do is, I know with the Skoda TV or the TVP T5051, the actual armor model takes into account that you've got the skin on, and so some areas of the tank look like you can actually hit it, but it's not actually anything. It's just like skin, so it kind of doesn't work very well. I think it's not pay to win, but it is one of those things where if a player doesn't know about it, they're going to get kind of screwed over, basically. And hopefully that won't be the case after these balance changes. Hopefully it will only show the actual outline of the tank rather than the outline of the skin as well, because that does happen. And I really hope that kind of gets changed, and that'll be a good change, hopefully. So yeah, that'll be changing to skins. Now, the biggest section of this video will basically be looking at the works in progress and what's coming to World of Tanks console. This is probably the biggest section and the things that you're most likely to actually want to see. There's lots of stuff, and we'll talk about it, give our opinion on some of the new things that will be coming, and then give some sort of timeline as to when you can expect them. We've got some operations for rare and competition tanks coming back into the game. Now, they've not confirmed this, but it is more than likely, I'd expect. So a lot of the rare and competition tanks that you might have got from a long time ago through various on-track events or like operations and earn ops might be coming back, and hopefully that will be good for some of the new players that may not have had the chance to be able to grind them. Hopefully they'll give the older players some sort of way to choose between the tanks that they want. That might be a better way of doing it, in my personal opinion, because I don't just want a silver equivalent of, the tank cost, because that's a bit boring, and it's not going to give me any incentive to grind. It'd be cool like they did the Monster Hunter operations, where you could pick the tank that you actually want at the end of it. Maybe they bring in a new tank with the rare operation, so that the players that have already got the old ones will be able to get something new, and then the older players or the newer players will both have something that they can grind towards and play for. So hopefully that's what they'll do, and obviously let them know in the forum or on the polls on their website, and also just drop a comment in the comment section down below as to what you think about that. Obviously I'll try and reply to most of the comments. I can't do it all of the time because there's only so much time in the day and I'm quite busy at the moment, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what you think, and I'm interested to see the comments on the video. Then we've got a few other things. So they're investigating ways of returning to balancing tanks. So I don't think that they've been looking at tank balance for a little bit, because there are certainly some tanks that are just way outperforming other ones. They said in the live stream, which all of this information comes from, that basically it's very hard for them to balance tanks because all of the data is obviously interesting, and there's lots of it, and there's lots of data that they have to look at. And I think there's certainly some aspects where they could probably ask the community what tanks they feel like are overperforming in games. Then you'll get like a brief skim of tanks that people think are overpowered. Then they can look into them rather than every single tank. So maybe that's something that they should be looking at doing. Maybe provide a poll, highlight a couple of tanks, find out which the community find are the most annoying to play against, or tanks that just basically don't feel right within the current game, and then coming into research about them and stuff like that. So hopefully that's something that they'll do. They did have a few meetings on this, and hopefully tank balance might become more of a thing in the future anyway. Although going off of past results, I'm not entirely confident with that. Then number 3, we do have there's no updates currently, so they haven't actually worked on anything, but they want to look at adjusting how tech trees look. So within the stream, Pain God even admitted that he was looking for a tank specifically, and he couldn't find it forever, and it took him ages and ages, and there was no way of him actually finding it within a reasonable amount of time. And so yes, the filters helped, but they want to kind of streamline that to make it so that it's so much easier to find the one that you're searching for. Hopefully that comes in fairly quickly, because the tech trees are awful at the minute with regards to trying to find the tank that you're looking for. Would be interesting. I don't know why they didn't just add a filter to all of the tech trees, so whether that be a premium or non-premium, that should really come into the game very, very quickly. I don't see that would be too much of a trouble, considering they've already got like the kind of foundations in there with the premium tech tree one. So hopefully the non-premium tech trees will actually get that change as well with regards to the filter system on the game. Then another thing, we have the efficiency tab for the post-battle results screen. So that was basically, if for those of you newer players who may not know what that is, or some of the older players that forgot, it's basically the screen that shows you how much damage you dealt to each of the opponents on the enemy team, which opponents you actually dealt damage to, which opponents you spotted, which opponents you did various different things. So it just basically tells you how many people you hit, various different things like that, and that was really, really useful to determine which enemies you spotted. If you had a blind fire and you did some damage to someone, it tells you or you can work out which tank you actually hit, and it just adds a little bit extra to the game. And I know a lot of players have been actually really gunning for that, to be able to have that back in the game, and certainly me myself, I really want that back in the game, and I have confirmed that it should, or it said it will return by the end of June, but it is Wargaming, and in the past they've failed to come up to their deadlines, but hopefully this will actually come back by the end of June. That's a solid month and a bit away, so hopefully, fingers crossed, that will be the case, and we can actually get on to doing that very, very quickly. And then the one of the biggest things within the works in progress is that there will be a new World War II premium USA tank destroyer coming soon. Now, from my own research, I guess, not that it took too much research, but it's likely that it will be the TS5. So if it's going to be anything that we've actually seen before within the World of Tanks in its entirety, whether that be Blitz or the various different games, I would say that it would be the TS5. Obviously, if it's something completely brand new, I can't just make it up and come up with it, because it could be anything. But if it is going to be an actual tank that we've seen before in any of the other games, then it probably will be the TS5. This is a Tier 8 American premium tank destroyer. It's kind of like a T95 at Tier 8. It's kind of an interesting one. Frontally, its armour actually looks fairly okay, although if people come up with the premium rounds, they're going to basically pen your lower plate, but if you can get hold down, then it should be a lot better for you anyway, because you can see the armour of the tank is actually fairly good. If we look on tanks.gg, if you just type that in online, you can find it yourself. And if you want to have a look at various different tanks within the game, then you can do that. It's really, really useful. But you see this lower plate is kind of the weak point, and this area on the bottom of the mantlet, or below the mantlet, is the area where you want to be looking at. If you manage to get the side of this tank, basically paper, similar to, well, I say it's paper, but it actually isn't bad armour. It's just that it's very, very flat and there's not much angle in it. That being said, however, you can actually side scrape in this thing, because the armour is quite strong in terms of thickness, means that people aren't going to overmatch your side, and it's very, very hard to be able to pen. I should note, however, if you are pulling around a corner, say that the corner is on the left-hand side of your gun, this right-hand side where the cupola is a weak point, so if you pull round a corner, what will happen is, even if you're angling to the point where they're not going to pen your side, they can hit your cupola, so it would be better to angle round a corner like this. So if you can, you want a left-handed corner to be able to side scrape on, so that your cupola doesn't get kind of out there for people to hit. So that's kind of one thing for you to note if this is the tank that comes into the game, which I'm pretty certain it will be. But yeah, if you're interested in that, statistics of the vehicle will be on screen right now, so you can have a look at the various things that PC have. Whether that will be entirely the exact same is up to Wargaming themselves. Obviously, it's got 400 alpha damage. It's not very speedy. It goes 26. It's faster than the T95, obviously. But yeah, it's interesting. If you want to have a look at the statistics, pause the video and you can go through these now. Now, coming back to the actual update notes, we've got a few other things I want to talk about before ending the video. Is that they're looking at adding more statistics to the detailed statistics page, so that'll be really interesting. What that will mean is basically, when you go onto the loadout tab of the various different tanks you have in your garage, you can press Y, it will come up with a big screen, it will tell you all of the different things that you need to know about the tank. They'll basically be adding a couple more statistics to the page, and that's obviously going to be beneficial to those of you who are interested in the various things about the tank, and making sure that you know everything about it to be able to perform at it your best. So hopefully that'll be useful, and that they'll be just adding that within the next couple of weeks to best perform in your tanks. Then a couple more things. We have that the T95E3 will return to the store on July 9th. That's the premium tank from the Cold War game mode, so if you want to pick that up, you can pick it up from July 9th. That's quite a way away, looking at a month and 2 weeks probably. So if you want to pick that up, then you can then, but it's very, very expensive in order to do that. We've also got Snake Plissken 3D Commander is confirmed, so that will be coming into the game. Very, very similar to the James Braddock 3D Commander Chuck Norris coming into the game. So yeah, that will be coming in very, very soon. And then we've got a couple other things. The 2 new on track events, basically, where it's like on track to the Progetto or something like that. They have got 2 new ones coming on the 1st of June. Now, it's interesting for me anyway, that there will be 2 new on tracks coming out. That's Italy and Sweden. Now, my thing is that they've recently done the Progetto, so I would expect it could be the Italian heavy tanks coming back into the game, or coming into the game on the 1st of June. That's not confirmed, we don't know that. It could be just the Progetto again, but I'd find that very, very unusual that they do the Progetto again, having done it very, very recently, in the last couple of months. Usually they go through like a big rotation of various different tank lines, and they don't usually do the same ones over and over again. And then Sweden, of course, with the medium and the heavy tanks that you can play. The Swedish line is actually a really good one, so if you haven't played it, that will be really useful for you to be able to do that. So make sure you get on and play those Swedish tanks, because, really, really nice. Haven't played the TDs myself, but if you want to, they certainly work very well with the armour if you use them correctly, and you know when to advance and to retreat. Then we've got a couple of frequently asked questions and that have been answered by Wargaming here, and that's why can't you bring back the old maps? That is because they do not work on the game anymore, and they have to be redesigned to be brought back to the game. That's obviously what I thought. I thought that they probably wouldn't work on the game, otherwise they would have just added them back in. That's kind of confirmed what I thought. Obviously, that's a bit disappointing from our kind of point of view, so the maps take ages to come back into the game, and they've not given us any information as to new maps within this update news for World of Tanks, but hopefully they will be coming back very, very soon. They're also talking about where is +1, -1 matchmaking. Well, they're basically analysing the data as to like when it will come back or how they can actually bring it back into the game. So at the moment, obviously the strain on the server is quite high with regards to having the player base split between all of the various different modes within World of Tanks console. That means that basically when they try and implement them +1, -1, it could lead to huge queue times, which, yes, some of you might say, I'm willing to wait 2 minutes, but what about the people that aren't willing? That'll mean that they'll leave, they're not going to play, and then it'll make your time even longer. So I think that they've got to be careful with when they implement it, and so they've looked at actually putting that in on the weekends, is basically that's when it's more likely to return for people to actually play. So they're not completely out of the question. They're just going to look at when the best time to actually implement +1, -1 matchmaking into the game is, and then they'll go from there, basically, is what they're saying. And then finally is, when will licensed tanks like Girls and Panzer return? Basically, that's down to licensing issues. Wargaming probably didn't renew the license, so they're not allowed to actually sell the tanks. If you bought the tank, obviously you can still use it. It's just that they can't sell it again, basically, otherwise they'll get copyright striked or whatever for selling tanks that they don't actually have the license for. They'll look into getting the license back, but I very much doubt that they will, because, the initial hype about the whole new licensing is kind of gone, and so they're unlikely to then renew it for minimal profit, basically. I doubt that they'll come back into the game. So tanks like the Edelweiss and all of the various different ones probably won't come back into the game. So make sure to always pick up licensed tanks if you want them when you see them, because they're unlikely to come back into the game once they are out of the game. So there you go. That is literally all of the information we've been given. They've answered a few questions. We've got loads of info as to what's coming. Hopefully you guys are kind of hyped about the new tanks and also some of the fixes that are coming and the operations that look like they're coming back to the game. And yeah, I'm really happy about what's kind of coming. Would like to see a lot more with regards to new maps, a bit more information as to when we're actually getting them. But you can't have everything, I guess. So yeah, hopefully we'll get that, and that'll come fairly quickly. If you do have any kind of feedback, then leave it obviously in the comment section down below, and make sure that you give your opinion. Try not to be super toxic, because Wargaming and me are just not going to look at it. They just aren't going to respect your opinion if you're just basically being really harsh. That's not from a point of view of, oh, you're a company man or whatever. I'm not sponsored by Wargaming. I have no affiliation with them. I'm just simply saying they just won't look at what you're putting. So try and make it as constructive as possible, and then they'll probably be more likely to actually look at it. But yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe and like the video, because it really helps out the channel. And also, if you want to check out some other content that we've done, we've got loads of gameplay and lots of update news videos from the past. We've got how-to guides and various different things for World of Tanks console that you can have a look at on the channel. So make sure you do that if you actually want to check out anything other than that. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend as of the recording of this video and whenever you actually watch the video. Hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.